Okay, what do you got to look for when you go to buy a paramotor? Because there's a whole bunch out there, and what do you know? What's what? What's this? What's that? Well, that's why the WPPGA is there, and there's a whole bunch of guidelines for things to look at. The first thing, the most critical, is does the paramotor have crumple zone? That's going to be the most critical thing and a life and death important aspect and safety feature of any particular paramotor. Now, what is crumple zone? Well, in paramotoring, it's kind of like dirt biking. If you ride a dirt bike long enough, you're going to dump it. Well, in paramotoring, if you fly long enough, you're going to smack into the ground at some point. It's the fact of life. It's how it works. So if you smack into the ground, you want to make sure that you've got something to absorb the impact instead of just your body. So if you look at the flat top from the side, you'll notice that the pilot is sitting 18 inches off of the ground. So your butt can't actually impact the ground until you crush the entire crumple zone. So that's what a crumple zone is. You literally, with 18 inches of crumple zone, you could full stall out of the sky and get up and walk away from it. Now, one of the great things about paragliders is a certified paraglider has a descent rate in a full stall of only about 20 feet per second. So even if you full stall from 10,000 feet, you're only going to hit the ground about like jumping off a one-story garage roof. Well, if you jump off a one-story garage roof and land flat on your butt, you're going to break your back or die, even just off of a one-story garage roof. But if you have 18 inches of impact protection that has to crush and absorb that impact, then the odds of even being injured are slim to none. So this is the flat top paramotor, and the flat tops all have that 16, 18 inches of crumple zone impact protection under your spine. So this is a Nirvana paramotor, and if you notice, the seat board is the lowest part of the paramotor. So when you smack into the ground, the very first thing to hit the ground is going to be your body. And your body is going to take the entire impact or the brunt of any impact with the ground. So that makes a huge difference. 18 inches of crumple zone is enough to literally save your life. You can see videos all over YouTube. People have accidents, impacts. Well, with flat tops, nobody's ever died. On Nirvanas, well, a guy died just last month. He fell out of the sky from 100 feet. Bam, dead. There's no impact protection. Now, another bad thing about not having any crumple zone is now you actually become the crumple zone for the paramotor instead of the other way around. With the flat top, the skids are going to crush to absorb that impact. But with the Nirvana, not only is your body going to take the entire impact, but the weight of the paramotor and all the thrust it's producing is going to bash down on top of you. So your body actually becomes the crumple zone for the paramotor, where with the flat top, the paramotor is the crumple zone for the pilot. That one little detail makes a huge life and death difference. I personally have over 11,000 flights, and I've smacked into the ground at least a dozen times. I can swear up and down, if I flew a unit like this, I would be dead at least 10 times over. But the flat top has saved my life numerous times. I've literally full stalled out of the sky on a 17 square meter acro glider. 17 square meters. You don't live through that. But on a flat top, I didn't just live, I got up and walked away from it completely uninjured. In over 11,000 flights, I've totaled at least a dozen flat tops, and I've never once even been injured. And the crumple zone is a really, really critical area of that. You notice, if your butt is the lowest part on the paramotor, that is not a paramotor you want to get. Okay, another super important thing on a paramotor is protection from the prop. That prop at full throttle is going upwards of 300 miles an hour. So if you trip or fall down or have an oops, or if it gets away from you when you're warming it up, another big serious injury that happens all the time are people get chopped up in their prop. So again, on the flat top, designing it to help protect the pilot from the prop was a really critical aspect of design, and it's definitely something to look for in a paramotor. Flat top is designed with Kevlar netting. This is 400-pound strength Kevlar. line can hold 400 pounds. And it is riveted to the cage. So each line is an integral structural part of the unit. If you compare that to a unit like the Nirvana, this unit has weed whacker line. It's just plastic. The prop can flex into the netting with almost no effort at all. So numerous people have been chopped up and actually lost fingers. I actually did this on a motorcycle. But if you don't want to look like that, you want to have a unit that's going to protect you from the prop. So with the flat top, the netting is so strong, you can literally bounce up and down in the netting and it's not going to flex into the propeller. So protecting the pilot is absolutely critical. This is a huge, huge factor to safety because loads of people have been injured in that manner just because they didn't have a strong enough cage. Now, other units might use Kevlar netting or they might use stronger netting, but it doesn't matter if the cage is really flimsy. So if the cage itself does not have the strength to prevent the whole cage from going back into the prop, that's another huge issue. Also, if you just trip and fall down, if you don't have a stronger cage and netting, you'll get what's called a prop strike, which means the prop actually strikes the cage. Well, with the flat top, this unit is exceptionally strong. Literally, if you get on top of this unit, you can jump up and down in the engine, and as you can see, the propeller does not hit the cage. Flat top, super tough. The way it's designed is all of this netting is pulling directly against the frame. So in order for that cage to go backwards, it's pulling against 8,000 pound strength of Kevlar. It's one of the reasons it's so strong. Because even though it uses similar aluminum tubing to other designs, the netting acts like spokes in a bicycle wheel. Well, if you've ever built a bicycle wheel, you can bend a bicycle rim with one hand. You can literally crush a bicycle rim with just pushing down on it. But put spokes in that bicycle wheel and you can take it over 10-foot jumps without it even being damaged. Same thing in the flat top. This Kevlar netting adds a huge amount of strength. Where if you look on some of these other units, like the Nirvana again, this is just weed whacker line. There is literally no protection. I can actually flex the prop right into the netting. It takes maybe 3 pounds of pressure. You can do it with 2 fingers. If you do set the unit, or if the unit falls down, if you push on the engine in just a fall, you can see that the prop is very easily going to contact. See, if you listen right there, just any pressure at all, and the prop is going to contact the cage, and the whole thing blows up.